Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. So in this lecture, we will continue our learning of the probabilities. In last lecture, we already talked about the sample space and events and the rule of signs. In these lectures, we want to talk about how we can find all the outcomes in one event or in one sample space. So we have several methods. So in this lecture, we will focus on one method. The name is multiplication rule. So multiplication rule is one of the counting technologies to find all outcomes in a sample space. So here, this multiplication rule is focused upon one type of experiment. So in this experiment, we suppose each of the outcomes is a result of a series of k steps. So for example, if we can think about if we flip coins and we flip like k different coin, so this means then our sample space is we want to collect what's the size we will have for this like k steps flip. So this is one example of this kind of experiment. And then for each of the steps, we will have different possible ways to complete them. And we denoted them by different number. So for example, for the first step, we denote this by n sub 1. So, and then for the second step, we will denote this by n sub 2. And then we will continue about this. So until the last step, which is our step k. So then for step k, of course, this is denoted by n sub k. So when we have different value of this different possible outcomes for each steps, then that means n sub 1, n sub 2 until n sub k can be different number. However, if for each step we will have same way to complete it, for example, we flip coins. For each step, when we flip the first one, we can get a head or tail. So we only have two possible way to complete it. So this means n1 is equal to, and we flip the second coin, is still tail or head. So n sub 2 is still equal to. And then until the last, we flip the last coin, and then this is still n sub k is equal to. So this is an example of if we have different number for this, we have same number for n1 until nk. And of course, they can also be different number. Then what is the total number of the possible outcomes in our sample space? So we will have equation for this. So this equation is n1 times n2 times nk until nk. So this is the equation for our numbers of the elements in our sample space. And now let me give you one example of this. So this is our example. So the question is, the experiment is send 3 signals in a sequence in a system, and then we interested in the record whether they arrive denoted by A or not denoted by N. So then the question is, how many outcomes will we have in the sample space? So this example, in fact, we talk about this one when we in the lecture about sample space. So if you want to know the detail how we can write out the sample space, so you can look at that videos. And so here in this question, we only want to know the number, how many outcomes we will have in the sample space. So instead of use the tree graph to help us find it, this is a much easier way to do this. So in this question, we will first need to use the multiplication rule to find it. So the first question, we need to know how many steps we will have. So here, if you look at the question, we know we have 3 signals and we will send them one by one. So that means in this question, our k steps, in fact, we will have 3 steps of them. And then the next thing is we want to know in each steps how many possible ways we can complete this step. So then if we read about this question in detail, we find there are only 2 ways. One is a signal arrive, the other is a signal does not arrive. So in this way, it means for each of these steps, we have N1 equal N2 equal N3. They have the same possible way to complete it, and the number is equal to arrive or not arrive, A or N. So then, to complete this question, the next thing is we just use our formula, right? So the total number of the outcomes is, by the formula, is N1 times N2 times N3. So this is 2 times 2 times 2. And you can compute this or use a calculator. The answer is 8. So this is an example how we can get this one, how we can get the number of the outcomes in a sample space. So then let me give you another example about this part. So now this question is about license plates. So assume the license plate have 4 letters followed by 3 digits. So it's like number from 0 until 9. And the letters, of course, is A, B, C until Z. So here for the letters, we didn't differentiate them by it's a capital letter or smaller one. So in this question, if we want to know how many license plates we can have or are possible, it means this actually is one way to ask us to find how many outcomes we can find in a sample space. So here in this question, of course, we will still use the multiplication rules to find it. So to use the multiplication rules, the first thing is we need to find how many steps in this experiment. So in this question, we can find here we have a word 4 letters and another number 3 digits. So by this one, that means we will have 2 parts. One part is finished by 4 steps. The other is finished by 3 steps. So in total, our k is equal 4 plus 3. So in total, we have 7 steps in this question. Okay, and then the next thing what we should do is we need to find the value of N1, N2 until N7. So then for this question, we need to read this careful because in the first 4 steps, this is by letters. So we can have choose from any letters. So that means about A, B, C until Z. That means in total, how many choices we can have? We have 26 choices. However, for the digit, this one is only choose by numbers. So it can be 0, 1, 2, 3 until 9. So in total, we only have 10 choices. So because of this difference, what we will know is for the first 4 steps, the N1 until N4 is equal 26. We have 26 way or choice to finish this. And then for the next 3, the last 3 steps, what we can choose is choose from 10 numbers. So that means in these 3 steps, the ways to finish it is 10. So now we already finished the first 2 steps of multiplication rule. We find how many steps we need to finish the experiment, and for each of them, how many choices we have. And then the last thing is we just use a formula. We use n1 times n2 until times n7. So in this question, it means we times 4 26 together. So this is 26 to 4 times 3 of 10 together, like this. So now you can, of course, use the calculator to compute this. I don't think anyone can compute this by yourself. So the number is a really large number here. Okay, so this is the answer of this question. So now you know that actually by this rule to set up a license plate for one country or maybe one city, how many license or how many cars can have this license plates. Okay, so this is a last example of this multiplication rules. However, we also have many more, actually 2 more methods to find the outcomes or to counting the outcomes in a sample space. I will introduce them in next lecture. So see you in the next lecture.